everyone, Tina here. Welcome to Card Making Fundamentals and welcome to the Frosty Fun Classroom. I'm so glad you're here with me today. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday and I'm super excited that everybody is excited about this classroom. We are going to jump in and get started. First we're going to go over what we need to create our very first lesson. I already took it out of our homework bag here. Grab your Frosty Fun Lesson 1 and also some markers. I'm using Copic markers today, but you don't have to, I promise. I think your image will turn out just as well if you wanted to use colored pencils or even regular markers or any kind of alcohol markers that you have. I do suggest, and you don't even have to do two colors for ink blending. You could get away with one. So it's very easy to color in our images today. You're going to need a teal colored image or teal colored markers. You're going to need some light beige or tan, or you could even go browns if you'd like, but you're going to need some flesh tone colors to color in your Eskimo face, along with a pale pink to rosy up some cheeks for our Eskimo. And then for our sled, we're going to need 2 gray markers. And again, you don't need 2 for blending. You can get away with 1. That'll be just fine. And then you're also going to need some colorful markers. I'm going to use a yellowy color for my Eskimo's hair. And then I'm using actually these for our Eskimo's cute little wintry outfit. Okay, so these are the colors that we're going to need to color in our little Eskimo. It seems like a lot, and this Eskimo is pretty on the smaller side. So when I have 2 markers, you guys could actually get away with just 1, like these. These are just extra blending ones. Okay, and then you're going to need also some adhesive. You're going to need a tape runner, and you're also going to need some glue for our project today. You're going to need a black ink. Now the ink that you use, I have sent out a black ink that is a pigment ink. You can't use that when you stamp your images here because alcohol markers and pigment inks kind of blend together. It's not alcohol marker friendly, basically. So I'm using a dye-based ink. Memento Tuxedo Black is the one I always use when I stamp my images because I can color with basically anything. Okay, so you need a dye-based black ink. You're going to need some scissors and a craft pick. And you're going to need a stamping block today. And then also, you're going to need something to clean off your images. If you want to grab your stamp cleaner and a towel, you can do that. Or if you have baby wipes, break those out. If you have a stamped chamois, you're going to need that to clean off your stamped images. Now, I didn't mention this during the introduction, but you may want some tweezers. We're going to be creating an inky background panel. I don't think we're going to, we don't need to really worry about the bottom of our panel. But these are nice to have on hand to pick up our background when we're all done. That way our hands don't get really inky. To protect your work surface, we're going to need maybe some scratch paper or printer paper just to spread out, maybe 2 of these on your craft desk. We're going to do a little splattering, and you don't want it all over your desk, especially with acrylic paint. If you don't wipe it up right away, acrylic paint is just a little bit tough to get off surfaces. Okay, well, let's put everything aside and start by doing some stamping. Keep these out here. And let's open up our package first. Such a cute stamp set, and we're going to use every element in here. I just think it's so sweet. Okay, let's go ahead and I did notice with this stamp set is actually from Pretty Paint Posh, and there is a coordinating die set over at the Pretty Paint Posh shop. I know some of you have the coordinating dies, which makes it really easier. So when I fussy cut, that's when you're going to want to, of course, die cut these out. But the coordinating dies are available, and I'll link them at the end of the video in case you guys want to check it out. Okay, let's take, well, we want to take away our confetti here. We're going to first take our little girl, a little Eskimo girl. I'm going to place her on acrylic block. We're going to also take the sled. And we're going to take the sentiment that says, "Baby, it's cold outside." And those are all the images that we're going to be stamping today. I'm going to put my stamp set off to the side. And in our lesson kits, there's a piece of white cardstock. We can just take everything out of our lesson kit here. I ordered bigger bags, so when you're done, your card will fit in this bag with the envelope, which makes it really nice. It was a tight squeeze with the kit last month. Okay, we're gonna go ahead, and there are two rectangle pieces of cardstock. One's a heavier weight, one's a lighter weight. When I color or stamp, I always like to use an 80-pound weight. It's easier to fussy cut for me. And you're going to need your lighter weight, smaller piece of cardstock. Now I'm going to zoom in. They're great quality, but I still like to go over them a little bit with my hand before I ink them up, because sometimes they do like to bead. New ones do. I'm going to ink up our Eskimo, and we're going to stamp her in the corner here. You know, I'm saying it's a her, but technically this could be a boy too. You could make a boy or a girl Eskimo depending on how you color in the outfit. Okay, and then I'm going to clean off my image here. I'm going to put her back, and then we're going to stamp the sled also. And I'll clean off my sled and put this back. We're not going to stamp our Baby It's Cold Outside just yet. This is actually going to be stamped on our background panel. So we're going to set this off to the side. And then we're going to do some coloring. And again, coloring can be very basic. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to stamp my little girl one more time. I want to show you that sometimes with smaller images, you don't have to really ink blend, and it will look just as nice. So I wanted to share with you both ways. But of course, you're just gonna color in one of our little Eskimos. Okay. I'm gonna do the one I'm gonna use for my project, and then I'm gonna do one with just one color of ink. First, we're gonna take our flesh colors, and I have a lighter and a darker, and I'm gonna go over the face. Then I'll do a little blending. I always like to blend right at the hairline because that's where the shadow is. And then I blend them both together. I'm going to take my light pink marker, and I'm going to rosy up these cheeks, and I'm going to go just under the eyes. This is kind of a pale pink. I could have used RV10, but I think it'll work just fine. Now for our Eskimo's hair, I'm just using one color for the hair, and we're going to color in our. Of course, if you want to add a little bit more color, you can by adding another yellow. For our Eskimo's jacket, that's where our two teal colors come in. I'm going to go over the entire jacket, minus the zigzag area, with my lightest color. And I'm also going to go over the little pants here. And also the hat. Okay, and then I'll take my darker teal color, and we're going to just add a little bit of color at the very top. Kind of fade out a little bit. I'm going to go under the chin. And then I'm going to go on the left and the right of the arms here. I'm going to color in the pants with the darker teal also. I'm going to add a little color to the left and right at the very bottom. And then I'm going to go back, take my BG11 and just blend these colors together so it's kind of a seamless blend. And that's what alcohol markers are known for, the blending, kind of fading together. Wonderful. So our jacket's done. And then we're going to take our green marker on the zigzag, that the triangle on this section that are pointing down. Let me zoom in a little more. That are pointing down. You have, let me show you. You have a zigzag like this and like this. The ones that are pointing down, you want to color in like this on this little coat. Color in with the green. Really just need a couple little dots of it because it's so little. And then we have our pink. Take your pink marker and go over the little mittens, the bottom over here like this of that zigzag. Like this, you're on this here, you're going to color that in pink. And then color in the boots pink also. And then our Eskimo was done. So adorable. For the sled, I'm using two grays. I have a light and a dark. I'm going to go over the entire top of the sled, just the entire top of the sled with my lighter gray. And then I'm going to add a little bit of gray shading on the left and the right, like so. And then I'm going to blend them both together. And then that is our sled. Pretty easy peasy, huh? Okay, now with this little girl, I'm going to show you, you don't have to go blending because she's going to look really similar to this one with just one color. So our pink, of course, we're going to just go over the shoes, the mittens. Oops. Kind of went a little too fast. Let me stamp her again. Let me see. I wanted to show you how she looks similar and I'm making her look different. Okay, I'm going to stamp her one more time. Now we'll try this again. Boots. Mittens. The bottom triangles. I'm just going to use the darker oil. And then our green for that upper zigzag. Hair. For the face, just one color. And then for our, use the darker teal just for our little girl's outfit here. Okay, and then cheeks, we got to rosy up the cheeks. Okay, so this one with the blending and this one's without. So you could just use one marker if you wanted. I just wanted to show you the difference. You see? So one marker will make it just look just as cute. Okay, since we have our coloring done, I'm going to use my scissors and I'm going to fussy cut my sled out. and my little girl. I like to separate when I fussy cut, or if you have the coordinating dies, you can go ahead and die cut the images out. If you're fussy cutting, just leave a little bit of a white border. And since we have just one line for the bottom of the sleigh, just go around it, or sleigh, the sled. I guess they may be just the same. Maybe a sleigh is a little bit bigger. And then we'll fussy cut this little girl out. When you leave a little bit of a border, it's a lot easier. Okay, so our little girl is fussy cut out. Our images are done. I'm going to zoom back out, and we're going to get a little bit of inky here. I'm going to put my markers. I have a little cup. Now, for ink blending, I'm going to bring back our little stash here. We're going to need the other piece of white cardstock, the heavier duty one. We're going to put our little girl and our sled off to the side. And then we're going to bring in a few items from my bag. Definitely bring in your little surgical kit. And then you're going to need this. Looks like it's very dark, but this is our ink. We're going to need that. We're also going to need our craft mat. We'll take this out. And then our paintbrushes too. Eventually we're going to need pretty much everything in that bag. So, but for now we're just going to bring in our craft mat. And there's a clear closure here. You can see that circle. What I like to do is just fold it in, or you can remove it completely. That way you can open and close for storage. Take off the label. And then we'll put this off to the side. I'm going to put our panel on here, and I am also going to put in a piece of printer paper underneath it, just to give me a little bit more room to make sure that I'm not gonna, maybe we need to do a couple printer papers to protect the work surface. Okay, I think that's gonna work good. I'm gonna take one of our paintbrushes, paintbrush's bristles probably need to be softened to just break the little protective seal on it that makes it stiff. And did mine have a little, did I throw away? Oh, there is, I threw it away. There is a little round circle thingy majigger that you can store your paintbrush in here. If you want to keep that, you can put it at the end of your paintbrush here. Let me see. You see I slid it on here so you don't lose it. But these are inexpensive too, so if you want to toss your paintbrush when you're done, you can. But, okay, so we have this, and then we're going to need our ink. And here we have, I had recently went in for a EGD. It was a procedure where they look down your esophagus, and that's why I'm calling it a surgical kit. That's what it reminds me. It looks real sterile. But I have vinyl gloves, so a lot of people I know are allergic to latex, and I prefer, even when I had our bakery and business, we use gloves to prepare our food, and I always preferred vinyl. Vinyl's always nice. versus latex. But latex seems a little bit sticky. Okay, I'm going to put away our triangle and our little spoon. We don't need those right now. This is some, oh yeah, actually take that back. You're going to need your little tray. This is for water. Okay, we're going to take this little tray, go to your kitchen sink right now, and we're going to fill this up with a little bit of water. Just a little bit. You don't need too much. I'll be right back. Okay, so I went to my sink and I have a little water in here. We're going to put that down there. This is was a really nice towel that you can use for cleanup. And so I've included this too. You can actually open it up too if you want to do that and use this to protect your work surface. Okay, and then I'm gonna actually wear my gloves, guys, because this ink does stain. So we will, oh gosh, these are a little bit small. I hope you guys have little hands. You don't have to wear these if you don't want to. Okay? And then we're going to open up our ink. Okay, well, this is kind of tough to open. Okay. And then we'll take this out. This is a little dropper bottle. We're going to take our cardstock, put it off to the side here. And then on our craft mat, we're going to add, you just need 1 drop of this. You can really kind of see the color when you add this. Maybe 2. Okay, put the lid back on. I'll set that off to the side. And that's where your little dropper comes in handy. I'm going to add some water. Just a little bit of water to this ink. And then using the paintbrush, we're going to swirl it. Kind of spreading it around, like so. Okay, and then take our panel. So far I don't have any inks on my hand, so you don't have to really wear your glove if you're uncomfortable with it. Take your panel, and I'm holding it from the bottom corner, and we're just going to tap it down. This is not watercolor cardstock, so it's really going to absorb. You can see here. And I just tapped it down once. Now I like the open area of white. It just reminds me of a snowy look. So that's all we're going to do. And you can see how it's just sopped up. If you wanted this more intense, what you could do is let this dry and then redo it. But this ink a little bit goes a long way, as you can tell. Now we're going to use our towel and just wipe up the excess, like so. And it does discolor your craft mat a little bit. Now if you stop and go, this has a little bit of a tint to it, a little bit blue. Here's what I'm going to suggest. Some inks will stain your craft mat. I have this. I just used, this is a cleaning eraser. These were so good. These are wonderful on kitchen cabinets too. But I just made some small little squares. One of these I cut in half and then quarter it. So one of these will make 8 little squares. And this is what I actually use to clean my craft mats. What I do is I just use, you can use your stamp cleaner if you want. Just add a little bit spray, or any kind of household cleaner would work too. And then I take my little magic eraser and go over it, and it will take any ink off. So, a little tidbit. And these are pretty inexpensive. I think Dollar Store may even have these too. These are nice little craft supplies to have on hand. And then I'll take my towel and just wipe this off. And then Keep this out because we're going to do a little bit more, splattering now. Your panel is pretty saturated, you can see here, but we want to do a little bit more to this. So I'm going to bring in our little white acrylic paint, and I'm going to add a little bit to our craft mat. You don't need too much, just a little dot of it. And then I'm going to take my other paintbrush. We'll open this one up. And again, if you want to get that protective piece for storage, you can. And again, I'll just put this on the barrel of the paintbrush. And then taking some of our water, loosen those fibers a bit. Taking our water, I'm going to dilute our acrylic paint. Dilute it just enough to where you can splatter with that water there. And then I'm going to do some splattering. I think the more, the better. I'll show you. Got lots of splattering on there. Okay, so this does take a little bit of time to dry. Now that's all the mess that we're going to be making. So I'm going to clean off my paintbrush and my water. Clean it off good because we're going to use this again. Just use my towel to wipe it off. And then I'll take that protective cover and cover this up. So it's covered up. And then I'll do the same thing. I'll take my blue paintbrush. Clean this off. Wipe it off with my paintbrush here. Wipe it off my towel. And then we will put this protective cover back on. And you can kind of see which is which because the blue ink will change the color of the bristles. Set these off to the side. And then this is nice for refilling stuff too. So keep that. And then I'm going to pour this out in the sink and clean it out with my towel. Okay. We'll put this off to the side. I'm going to wipe down my craft mat. If you get acrylic paint on your work surface, try and wipe it up right away because this kind of does stain. Not stain, but it's hard to get off once it dries. I'm just going to wipe off my craft mat. My heater went on. I have a very loud heater. And so if I'm talking a little bit louder, it's because my heater is really loud. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and put my craft mat back in my storage pouch. I'll take my gloves off. If you want to save your gloves, pull them off by the fingers. Like this. And then you can actually save these. If you didn't get them, if you didn't get them too messy, you can always wipe them off with a towel like this. But pull those tops of the fingers if you want to reuse them. Sometimes if I need glove, when I color my hair, I use Miss Clairol, the cheap stuff. But when I color my hair, I always use two boxes. And so I always have extra gloves from my hair color. So if you got these pretty inky and you color your hair, you can use your gloves in your hair color box. Just a little FYI. Okay, make sure this is nice and clean, and I'm going to put this in the plastic bag that my acrylic paint came in. This one I don't think we're going to have a problem with this leaking, but this one we will, maybe. So best to keep it in a plastic bag. I can probably reuse these. And while this is drying, if you have a heat gun and want to speed it up to continue on, you can. But I'm going to set this off to the side to air dry. And then I'm going to put this with my gloves too, because we can use this on our next card. But we're going to take the rest of our kit and we're going to put our pattern paper in the background of our card base. Okay, so I'm going to open up my card base, make sure it opens up the right way. We'll take our green polka dot pattern paper. This is going to go on our card base, and we will adhere this using our tape runner. And this is a complete card front panel. So if you have a little bit of your card base over here hanging, you can trim that off with your scissors. And then I'll take our zigzag. It doesn't matter which way the zigzags go, but I'm going to go ahead and use my tape runner. And we're going to add this right in the center, so just a little bit of those polka dots are peeking out. Okay. Wonderful. We're going to put this off to the side, and then we're going to work on our shaker window. We have a piece of acetate, and then we have our window frame. I'm going to line up my window frame from corner to corner, and then using my scissors, I'm going to trim around it. So it's the right size. If you want to trim a little bit on the inside of this, you can. I like to line it up, trim it, and then trim a little bit more. Like so. So you see how much I took off here. So this one will fit right behind our window. Maybe we need to trim a little bit more, just to go on the inside of it. We have our shaker. What we're going to do before we continue is add a little bit of frostiness to the window. Should have did that with our craft mat out. So bring back your craft mat. We're going to dirty it up one more time. And bring back my craft mat. I'm going to put my acetate on here. And that's where our sponge, our coarse dauber sponge, comes in handy. I'm going to go ahead and, I already used mine for my demo pictures. But you'll take this, and then I'm going to add a little bit of acrylic paint to my craft mat. Just a little bit. And then using my dauber, let me zoom in so you can see. And then using my dauber, I'm going to pick up some of that paint. And you can see if you lightly tap it, you can spread out that color. We're going to go corners, just the corners. So you're going to lightly tap the corners here. We're going to add some Frosty Fun to these corners. Like so. Just lightly tap it. The nice thing is if you want to, like this is kind of a smear, what you can do is take a baby wipe and do a redo. If it's still, before it dries, you can do a redo. Don't you love redos? And if you need a little bit more, more ink, then you can just put a little bit more over here. Oh, this was the little seal. We don't need that. You can toss that. Oops, so add a little bit more. And then, probably a little too much. We'll just add some frosty edges. We're going to be doing probably this to all of our acetate. So by the time we're done, you're going to be pros. This video is running a little long, but that's okay. I have a long classroom. Kind of going around all the corners. And you can kind of judge by the circle that you create. Wonderful. Now this, oops. Okay, how come my camera went blurry? Okay, now this needs to be washed immediately along with, set this aside to dry. This needs to be washed immediately. Now you could use a baby wipe for your craft mat, or you can use your paper towel, the one that came with it. Baby wipes are kind of nice. Then again, you can just use your stamp cleaner, or even a household cleaner will clean this mat. Okay, and then for you to be able to use this again, we have to take this to the sink right away. I'm going to rinse this out with warm water, warm tap water, just warm. You don't want to go too hot because I might loosen up the adhesive that's attaching this to your barrel. So I'm going to run this through my sink and I'll be right back. Okay, I ran this through. I left some water on here, you can see, but it cleans up really well. You just want to make sure that all the excess water is out of here for our next project. But looks good, almost as good as new. There's a little discoloration here, but, and then I'm just going to put this back in our package for our next project. Okay, so we have a little frothiness to our acetate. We're going to put our craft mat back. And then this should be dried pretty quick. Okay, once we have this dried, we'll take our window frame and I'm going to flip it around using my glue. I'm going to add some adhesive all along the edges. Maybe just a little bit down the middle. You don't need too much down the middle. And then this is where our heel sights come in. We have two. One's going to go in our background. We're going to take the shorter one and then we're going to just add this to the very bottom of our frame, and I'm adding it down the middle here. So we have a little excess overhanging. Let's trim that off with our scissors. And then so this is good to go. After we have this done, we're going to add a little more adhesive. We already put adhesive around the edges and just a little in the middle. But we're going to need to add some on the bottom and tack this down. And you can kind of flip sides. If you want to add more frothiness, you can, or more frostiness, you can. We're going to add this to our window here. I need to trim this side a little bit more. And so we have a little bit of frostiness on our window. Now I'm going to take this panel and we're going to flip this around and we're going to take our foam. We have our foam strips. I'm going to take a couple strips. I think mine are separated, but I think your guys's might be one solid sheet. What we're going to do is take a foam strip. I'm going to remove the release paper here, and we'll add this to the very back of our window frame. Trim it off, and then we'll take this piece. We're going to go down this edge, and then we'll do the same on the reverse side. Go all the way down to the bottom. With this piece, I am going to go down the middle. Just a little piece down the middle to help it stay from sinking in. And then we'll put one strip on the bottom. Now I don't want my confetti to fall down to where you can't see it, so I'm going to take one strip and go along the curve of that hillside. right here. And then we'll take another one. We probably won't need very much of this one. We'll add this on this side, just so we have foam tape all around the edges. Any excess, we'll put this back because we have 4 shakers to make with these strips. So for the most part, our shaker is done. Let's go ahead and remove the release paper. If you have a craft pick, you can use that too. Sometimes it's easier to pierce the top of the foam strips and lift it. Like, just pierce it and then lift. Sometimes it's easier. But if you have nails, it's probably easy too. Maybe if you have fake nails, it's not so easy. I don't think I've ever told it. My worst nightmare is one of these pop off during a video. I've had that happen a few times. I've had to edit it out, but my little fake nails, you gotta watch out for those boogers. Okay. Now what we're gonna do is take we have a little spoon, and we're gonna take our confetti sparkle elements. Now this is fully loaded. You're going to want to open this off to the side because you'll probably have some that fall out. If you want to put this on scratch paper, you can do that. Spellbinders filled this up to the brim. We're going to take our little spoon and we're going to add some of this confetti on the left and right of our window pane here. And you can add as much or as little as you like. I'm not going to add too much because we need to add our sentiment, and I don't want our sentiment to, I want you to still be able to see our sentiment. Okay. Now I'm going to add the lid here. And I have a little mini vacuum that I like to use to clean this up. This is a little We Are Memory Keepers vacuum. It's such a cute vacuum. I think I've showed you guys this before, but it'll vacuum up all the little pieces. This is where you would dump it in the trash. And then it has a little USB port here, and that's on the top. And I don't even think I've used this. So it works good. And then you have a little button you just push and it picks it all up. Pretty nifty. And then it's here. So you just toss this in your little trash can. Or you can just bring your trash can to the edge of your craft desk and pull it in like this. I did that before too. Now we have our window, we have our background, and it's still a little bit dry. A little bit wet. Not quite dry. So I am going to bring in my heat gun. You may want to pause if you don't have a heat gun. You might want to pause it. You can use a blow dryer. If you don't want to use the electricity for a blow dryer, you can just let it air dry. But I'm going to use my heat gun to speed this up. Okay, I think we are good. It's pretty much dry. And as I was heat drying this, I should have moved over my panel because I got glitter everywhere. Okay. Let's bring back that vacuum. Okay, and now what we're going to do is take this hillside. We're going to find the side that we like the most. And I like this side here. Okay. We're going to take our hillside and add this to the very bottom. of our panel here. And my panel's a little bit warped. If you air dried it, it might not be as warped. But let's use our tape runner and put some adhesive over here. Just lining it up this corner to this corner, and then I'll trim off the excess. Okay, now before we did this, I should have told you, we need to stamp our sentiment. We need to stamp our sentiment over here, and I want to try and get it in one of my window panes. So we're going to take our Baby It's Cold Outside in our black ink, go over this here, and I know there's about 1/4 of an inch around our photo frame, so we're going to go on this top corner here. I'll just ink this up, and I'm going to stamp it on this top corner, like so. And then what we're going to do is take our panel. Since we removed the release paper here, we are good to go. We're just going to flip this around, and kind of going blind, but we're going to tack this down to the back of our shaker. And this is going to help flatten it too. And if you have some confetti obstructing your sentiment, then you would just tap it down. And then you can see our confetti goes to that bottom little border, which is so fun. There is our shaker. It doesn't shake too much. You could probably get away with adding a little bit more, but I like it. Kind of looks like little snowballs. We're going to take our panel. If you have a little bit overhanging, if you didn't get it on the back straight like me, we're going to go ahead and take our scissors and just trim away the excess. We can do the top too. I have a little bit of acetate overhanging. Okay. We're going to take our card base. We're going to put this on our card base, so we're just going to use our tape runner. Kind of generously, because this is a big piece of shaker. We're going to tack this down. I'm going to use a baby wipe, and I'm going to clean off my sentiment, and we'll put our stamp set away. Now we're going to take our little embellishment bag. This is a long video. We're going to take everything out, and then we're going to take our craft colored cardstock. What we're going to do is take our diagonal stripe paper. I'm going to line it up in the middle, but on the bottom, the edges are going to meet on the very bottom. And then I'm going to take my scissors, and we're going to fishtail that bottom, like so. And then we can perfectly position it by just scooting it up. Let's add some adhesive. Then we can add our fishtail to the craft fishtail, kind of centering it here. And then I'm going to trim off this at the very end all the way to that stripe paper. So we're doubling up on our craft. I'm going to go ahead and tack this down using my tape runner. I'm going to take a little bit off the edge here, about 1/4 inch. And then I want to take my banner and add this all the way to the end here, but I don't want it to hit the window pane. Okay. We have a snowflake. I've included 2. One of them was crinkled, or maybe crinkled. There was a lot that were crinkled, so I tried not to give you ones that was crinkled, but if you want to hold this down with a book, you can. I'm going to take the best snowflake you have. This is where our glue will come in handy. We'll add a dot of glue right over the end of the window pane here. Then we can add our snowflake. Okay, and then we have some natural twine. We're going to tie a bow. Like so. We have our little bow, and then I've included a glue dot. We'll take one of our glue dots, put it in the center of our snowflake, and then we'll tack that down. And then I'll add our bow to the center of our snowflake, and we can trim the tails of our bow here. Okay, and then we have our wooden love little love hearts. We're going to use our second glue dot and add a glue dot behind our wooden heart. And then this is going to go in the center of that knot. Like so. Now, I'm running out of time, so what I'm going to do next is take our foam squares, and we're going to take our little girl and our sled. I'm going to put one of our foam squares behind our little girl, and then I'm going to trim our second one in half, our foam circle. I don't know why I call them foam squares. I guess it's just a habit. We're going to put two down here, like so. And then I'm going to remove the release paper. We're going to add our sled down here on the bottom. And then I'm going to add our little Eskimo right on top of the sled, almost to where she's off to the side here. And that will finish our card today. I'm going to clean up my mess here, but I think it's a little bit of a process because we did the splattering and the ink background, and we did a little coloring. We did it all today, this project. But I love the outcome. I think it's really super cute. And it's a nice little everyday card. Thanks for joining me for this week's Frosty Fun Classroom. I'll see you next Friday for lesson number 2. I wish you a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a blessed day. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.